My name is Musikari Kombo, Chairman of Water Services Trust Fund. We at WSTF, or Water Services Trust Fund, believe and are concerned that climate change is real and its dangers, if not mitigated, can be devastating, as witnessed in the current drought. In our current strategic plan, we aim to raise Kenya shillings 10 billion to reach 3 million underserved Kenyans with adequate water and sanitation services. We shall ensure all our programs are climate-proofed. Thank you.
As our chairman alluded to before, climate change is here with us. Water Services Trust Fund as an institution would like to mainstream sustainability within our projects and also within our investments. So the question for us is we want to define sustainability within the climate change sustainability. We are looking at sustainability in two ways. We are looking at institutional sustainability and we're also looking at project sustainability. Institutional sustainability is where we are considering who is actually taking care of our investment, who is managing it. If we have a water point, who is managing that water point? Those are some of the things that we are looking at when we are looking at institutional sustainability. The governance structure that is also in place is what is also going to contribute to either mitigating or adapting to climate change issues. Project sustainability, we are looking at how can we increase the lifespan of that infrastructure. For example, using gravity schemes, solar, wind, basically to reduce the use of energy and also reduce also both the price and also the longevity of the project. How has climate change affected our investment as trust fund? It has in fact affected in many ways. For example, the sustainability of our infrastructure that I just alluded to before. We also talk about the availability of water itself. That's also key. And both water resource, that's where we are sourcing our water that will end up in the tap. So if that is lacking and if that is being attributed to climate change, which is the reality right now as we speak, then that is key. How we do the operation and maintenance also will go a long way when we're looking also at climate change. We can also attribute the climate change issue to resource-based conflict. It's happening all over the country, especially in the ASAL part of Kenya, where communities are fighting over resource. Not that those resources did not exist before, but because of the pressure that climate change is putting into our little resource that was there in the beginning. Finally, let me put it this way, that also climate change is also contributing to the drought that we are facing in this country. Kenya, as a country, we have been facing drought in a phase of 5 to 10 years, but now it has actually reduced to 5 years. Within 5 years, we have actually a major drought, which we are currently facing as a country. We are looking at investing in climate-proofed infrastructure, and that is using the right technology that will improve on the infrastructure that we're putting in place on the ground. That is one. And a good example to give is water harvesting, using solar, where electricity is quite expensive. We are also looking at wind power as also an alternative technology. We have recently partnered with CTCN to actually review which areas within our country and what attributes, looking at the solar, from the solar technology. For example, in Isiolo, what kind of attribute should a technology have? What should it have in Western Kenya? How about in Lamu? So if and when we finish that study with CTCN, UNEP DTI unit is actually spearheading this with us. Once that report comes out, we will share with the whole country to see how we can assist the rest of the country, not only with the technology, but also the knowledge, which is quite very important. We want to work with like-minded partners with similar interests, and to mention a few, Climate Change Technology Network, UNEP, United Nations Environmental Programme, Denmark Technical University, the Danish International Development Agency, Government of Germany, Sweden and Finland, Kenya Market Trust, Safaricom, among others.
My name is Priscilla Kinyari, Manager for Rural Investments in Water Services Trust Fund. The Water Services Trust Fund works with various implementing partners to finance water sector investments. And these implementing partners are like the water service providers, water resource users associations, community-based organizations who are located in various parts of this country. And what they usually do is to respond to a call for proposals, which is followed with an appraisal that is done by the Water Services Trust Fund to assess the need and sustainability of the investments. And usually what happens is that the WSTF team looks at whether these investments first can be able to increase access to water and sanitation for the Kenyans who are living in underserved areas, and also to look at whether these investments can be able to withstand climate change effects, which is now a real issue to us and has been threatening the sustainability of the investment. So we have been thinking that through this collaborative research with the Climate Technology Center and Network, we'd be able to see how we can catalyze the adoption of climate smart and green technologies, and more so to see how we can sensitize our implementing partners to focus on adoption of green technologies such as solar and wind power pumping systems, look at how they can harness rainwater harvesting by construction of water storage facilities and installation of rainwater harvesting systems. Also promoting the increasing water use efficiency, especially for the water service providers where they need to reduce on unaccounted for water, basically by ensuring that they meter all the water connections. So looking at how we can promote the reuse of wastewater through promotion of ecological sanitation principles, where you find some of our water service providers have adopted the decentralized treatment facilities to ensure that the waste water that is produced is recycled back to the environment. And finally, with all this, we expect that with the investments that are put in and the need to adapt to the climate change effects, mainly also during the design and the proposal preparation process, and also how we can mitigate these effects to ensure that we are able to conserve the limited water resources that are available and to sustain the availability of water for the communities and for the generations to come.
My name is Willie Sobai, the Chief Manager for Investments and Programs at the Water Sector Trust Fund. The fund has 4 investment units that helps it in achieving its mandate of working in the underserved areas of the Kenyan country. These 4 units include urban investments, rural investments, water resource investments, and finally, results-based financing, which is more an innovative approach of financing water companies through loans from commercial banks, and we pay subsidies once agreed milestones have been achieved. One common thread in all these investments is the attention that we are paying to issues of climate change, sustainable development, with the hope that the contribution from all these processes will help in achieving the sustainable development goals by 2030. When I make reference to climate change issues and sustainable development, I mean that the institution, that is WSTF, is so keen to embrace green technologies, make sure that all the investments that we do are climate proofed and are able to respond to the climate change variabilities. And as a matter of policy, we have also aligned ourselves with the Climate Change Act which was passed last year and assented to by the President. Now, in terms of what benefits do the communities, the companies that we work with get when they embrace these policies that we are advocating? One, long-lasting impact from the interventions that we do, simply because the operations and maintenance costs go low, and this is important for continuity. As we work with our implementing partners such as water companies, community-based organizations, water resource users association, and community forest association, some of the benefits that they reap from use of green technology and paying attention to climate change issues. One, the investments are long-lasting, meaning that they will continue to get benefits for a longer period of time. Secondly, this results in low operations and maintenance cost. And this is therefore very economical and friendly to the environment, making sure that the investments will help to meet the sustainable development goal. And this is good for the country and is also in line with the provisions that are now being made under Climate Change Act 2016.
I'm Simon Kimanzi, the acting MD, Machakos Water and Sewerage Company. We are facing a lot of challenges in our core business of giving the residents clear and affordable water due to the following factors. One, the high cost of power in production. Though we are working hand in hand with the Water Service Trust Fund, the challenges are still alarming. The cost of production, power production is very high, which the company cannot afford. And we are thinking of going to either wind or solar power so that we can reduce the same cost. Two, the cost of operation and maintenance is very high since our systems are too old. Most of the parts are of the colonial time, 1950s. The upstream, where our dams, the catchment area is bare, so the water is contaminated. And so we use a lot of chemical treating the same water to be clean. That's also a challenge, a main one, from Marumba Dam. But when we treat, we pump to the town, which is from a nearly place. So the cost of power is very high due to the pumping system.
My name is Elizabeth Kingo. I'm the internal auditor, Machakos Water and Sewerage Company. Currently, we are working in partnership with the Water Services Trust Fund. As the acting MD has highlighted, Machakos Water is being faced by various challenges. One of them has been electricity. The cost of electricity is very high since we pump water to our reservoirs so that we can distribute to the customers. Currently, we are looking at going off-grid in terms of going green. That is, we are looking at installation of solar panels where we'll be able to reduce the cost of pumping. The other option is using wind power. This will help us highly in reducing the cost of production and pumping. The other challenge has been the water source. Machakos town main source of water is only Marumba Dam, being supplemented by various boreholes. Currently, the challenges we are having in the Marumba Dam is silt. Currently, the catchment area is not well maintained, so we are looking at engaging the community in planting trees, that is afforestation. The other option is doing the silt traps. This we are doing in collaboration with the county government of Machakos.
Okay, my name's Isaac Musia. I do work with the Machakos Water and Sewerage Company as a technical manager in charge of sewerage and projects. Most of the developments of water structures, sanitation part of it is very much forgotten about, and in this case we realize this one has been happening into our company, and through Water Services Trust Fund we incorporated the sanitation part of it, and by so doing we came up with the construction of DTF, which is a decentralized treatment facility, and this facility is the fourth stage of the sanitation value chain. For the sanitation value chain to close the loop, it has to undergo 5 stages, and the treatment facility treatment part of it is at the fourth stage. Now, this treatment facility is a small facility which is meant to cater for 23 cubic meters per day, or 3 exhausters per day. It is a full treatment for the process of anaerobic, and finally at the constructed wetland we have now the final treatment undergoing aerobic treatment. So the final effluent is very safe to release into the environment, and that is why it is released into the river course. So we have carried out the set tests from the treatment facility and found out that it is a safe way of treating effluent.
When I was a small girl, this river Malewa used to flow so high. Our parents had to carry us to reach the other side at school. But since I joined community water activities in the recent past, I have noticed that the river has barely any water except for a few days on a rainfall episode. Now children just walk across the riverbed to school. All livestock in the village have no grass or water. They are forced to come up to the river for some grass and water. The future is not promising unless we look for solutions that will help us have water and pasture. Like, for example, rainwater harvesting tanks, planting drought-resistant crops, and using our local radio to advise residents on events of drought and floods.